You throw a crumpled piece of paper at the trash can. If it goes in, you feel a spark of satisfaction you can't explain. If it misses, you feel a tiny urge to try again, maybe even step back a little further next time. That's not a coincidence. That reflex is nearly 2 million years old. Long before soccer balls, before basketballs, before any ball existed at all, your ancestors already had a body built for one specific superpower: throwing something hard, fast, and accurate enough to kill. In 2013, researcher Neil Roach and his team studied the human shoulder and found something no other primate has: a unique combination of loose ligaments and rotating joints that let humans wind up and release like a slingshot. Chimpanzees, our closest relatives, can barely throw a ball faster than about 20 miles an hour. A professional baseball pitcher can throw one at over 90. That gap isn't training, it's anatomy. Something changed in the human shoulder roughly 2 million years ago, and it changed for one reason: hunting at a distance meant surviving. A spear thrown hard and true could bring down an animal without ever getting close enough to be gored, bitten, or trampled. This wasn't a side effect of evolution. It was a survival tool, sharpened generation after generation until it became part of your basic anatomy. But here's what most people don't realize. That same throwing motion, the same explosive shoulder mechanics, is the exact reason you can pitch a baseball, throw a football, or fire a basketball through a hoop today. Every javelin thrower, every quarterback, every kid skipping stones across a lake is running 2 million-year-old software, built for a purpose that no longer exists. Some early humans didn't stop at their bare arm. Around 17,000 years ago, hunters across Europe and the Americas were using a tool called an atlatl, a simple wooden lever that could launch a dart with far more force and distance than a human arm alone. Archaeologists believe these tools weren't just used for hunting. Wear patterns on some ancient dart points suggest repeated, deliberate practice throws, not the irregular damage you'd expect from real hunts alone. Some researchers think early humans held informal competitions, testing who could throw the farthest, the fastest, the most accurately. In other words, target practice may be one of the oldest competitive sports on Earth, older than any city, any written language, any nation that has ever existed. Slings tell a similar story. Simple leather or woven slings, capable of hurling a stone hard enough to kill, appear in the archaeological record going back thousands of years, long before metal weapons existed. Shepherds used them to protect flocks. Hunters used them to bring down small game from a distance. And across many ancient cultures, sling accuracy became a measurable, celebrated skill, something people practiced and showed off the same way people practice free throws in a driveway today. Throwing wasn't the only ancient superpower hiding inside your body either. In 2004, researchers Dennis Bramble and Daniel Lieberman published a study arguing that humans evolved not just to walk, but to run for extremely long distances. Longer Achilles tendons, larger buttock muscles, an efficient sweating system that lets humans cool down while running, something most animals simply cannot do. Their theory: early humans used to run prey to exhaustion, chasing an animal for hours in the heat, sometimes across many miles, until it physically collapsed from heat stroke. This method, known as persistence hunting, doesn't rely on speed alone. It relies on patience, pacing, and an endurance system almost no other large animal on land can match. A small number of traditional societies still practice it today, proof that the technique still works exactly as it did tens of thousands of years ago. Which means that same instinct, the itch to sprint after something, to chase, to race a friend to the end of the street for no reason at all, isn't childish. It's ancient hunting equipment, firing off with nothing to chase. Wrestling has its own deep timeline. Some of the oldest suspected depictions of organized wrestling come from carved stone reliefs and small sculptures in Mesopotamia, dated to around 3000 BCE, showing two figures locked in a hold. But anthropologists suspect the behavior itself is far older than any carving. Wrestling-like play has been observed in juvenile primates across nearly every species studied, suggesting it isn't a human invention at all. It's something written deep into the primate brain, and humans simply turned it into ritual. Primatologist Frans de Waal, who has spent decades observing chimpanzees and bonobos, has documented how play fighting among young primates helps establish social bonds and settle questions of rank, all without anyone getting seriously hurt. A tussle in the dirt wasn't just roughhousing, it was two young minds quietly working out who leads and who follows, long before either of them understood why it mattered. Throwing wasn't the only game involving small objects either. Archaeologists have found small, carved animal ankle bones, called astragali, at prehistoric sites across Europe and Asia, some dating back tens of thousands of years. These bones roll unevenly, landing on one of four sides, almost like an ancient set of dice. Long before written history, humans were already using these bones to play games of chance, betting, predicting, arguing over outcomes they couldn't control. Nobody knows the exact rules these early humans followed, but the wear patterns on many surviving astragali tell a story of their own. Smoothed edges from being handled again and again, tossed, caught, passed hand to hand around a fire. Board games have an ancient pedigree of their own. In Egypt, archaeologists have uncovered game boards for a game called Senet, some dating back over 5,000 years, found buried alongside pharaohs as if the game mattered enough to bring into the afterlife. Nobody has ever recovered a complete rulebook explaining exactly how it was played. What survives are the boards themselves, worn smooth from constant use, quiet evidence of a game people simply couldn't stop playing. To understand what these ancient games might have actually looked like in motion, researchers look at hunter-gatherer societies still living today, groups like the San people of the Kalahari, whose lifestyles closely mirror how humans lived for the overwhelming majority of our history. Anthropologists studying these communities have documented children playing elaborate tag games, precision throwing contests using sticks and stones, wrestling matches, and intricate string games passed down verbally for generations, all without a single written rulebook, a coach, or a league. Here's the twist most people miss entirely. None of this was really about killing time. Psychologist Peter Gray, who has spent decades studying play in hunter-gatherer societies, argues that these games were doing serious work behind the scenes, disguised as fun. Wrestling taught conflict resolution without real violence. Throwing games sharpened the exact muscles and precision needed for hunting. Chasing games built the speed, endurance, and reflexes that could someday save a life. Even the dice-like games taught early humans how to read probability and risk, long before anyone had a word for either concept. Play wasn't a break from survival, play was survival, rehearsed safely, over and over, until the body simply knew what to do when it actually mattered. Which brings you back to that crumpled paper ball and the trash can across the room. You don't need to hit that shot to survive today. Missing costs you nothing, not a meal, not your safety, not your place in the group, but your body doesn't know any of that. It still lights up with the exact same small spark of satisfaction your ancestors felt when a well-aimed throw meant dinner for the entire group that night. The same is true when you sprint to catch a bus, when you race a sibling up the stairs, when you feel that strange thrill rolling dice on a board game, or watching a ball arc perfectly through a hoop. It's there when you line up a shot in a video game, when a dart lands dead center, when a stone skips one extra time across the water. None of these moments matter for your survival. All of them feel like they do, because somewhere underneath the modern version, the ancient machinery is still running exactly as designed. So next time you find yourself aiming at a hoop, a bin, or a target that means absolutely nothing, know what's really happening. You're not bored, you're not killing time, you're running a 2-million-year-old hunting program built on a savanna that no longer exists, refined by ancestors who never once saw a screen, a scoreboard, or a stadium, tested one crumpled piece of paper at a time.